It's the Security Weekly News. It's episode 550. It's the week of 27 January 2026. Actually, it is the 27th of January. It's the week of the 25th of January. I'm Doug White. Welcome to the show. We've got Doombuds, Office 1.0, Telnetd, Chrome, Vishing, Cursed Ralph, PeckBirdy, The Boss, Aaran Leyland, and more on the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
We interrupt our program to bring you this.
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News. Zero trust is clearly the future as threats get faster, quieter, and harder to detect. But implementing it shouldn't disrupt the business. ThreatLocker enforces default, deny, and execution in a way that remains enterprise-ready, scalable, and operationally clean. Unknown software is stopped cold, trusted apps stay contained, and drift is locked down across the environment. It's zero trust that works in real enterprises and prepares you for the threats ahead. See why CISOs are adopting it at securityweekly.com/threatlocker. Ever feel like your network infrastructure is stuck in the past? Meet Meter, the company reimagining what it means to get and stay online. Meter delivers full-stack networking, wired, wireless, and cellular, all in one seamless, scalable, and secure solution. From hardware design and firmware to software, deployment, and support, Meter streamlines every part of your network while giving you all the control and transparency you need. Whether you're managing a branch office, retail stores, or a massive data center, Meter gives you performance, reliability, and the visibility you need to stay in control. Thanks to Meter for sponsoring. Go to securityweekly.com/meter to book a demo now. That's securityweekly.com/meter, METER. All right, I'm Doug White, and it is the Security Weekly News. Hit that like, subscribe, and leave a comment button, or it's a blizzard for you too. Actually, I don't know. I don't think it was a blizzard. It was just a little snow. Come on, I mean, I used to live in Colorado and Michigan, so it was a little bit of snow. Most security conferences talk about threats. Zero Trust World lets you attack them. From March 4th to 6th, 2026 in Orlando, Florida, this hands-on cybersecurity event features live hacking labs where you'll break real environments, think like an adversary, and learn how attacks really work. You'll also get expert sessions, real-world case studies, CPE credits, and networking with top practitioners. And yes, the Security Weekly team will be there too. Don't miss it. Register today at securityweekly.com/ZTW. I will also be at RSAC this year. I hope you will be there too. Security Weekly listeners will save $100 on their RSAC 2026 All Access Pass. RSAC 2026 conference will take place March 23rd to March 26th in San Francisco. To register using our discount code, please visit securityweekly.com/RSAC26 and use the code 56U5SECWEEKLY. We hope to see you in San Francisco. All right. Well, Microsoft released an emergency out-of-band security update to patch a Microsoft Office Zero Day that is now being exploited in the wild. It's a high-severity vulnerability, and it affects multiple Office versions, including Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise, and goes all the way back to Office 2016. Now, I remember using Office or trying to use Office with Windows 2.0. It actually came out with Windows 1.0, I think. It was horrible. I mean, I went running straight back to my command line WordStar, Lotus, and VI about as fast as my little legs would carry me. Now, that was back in 1990 even, when the only problem in the world was cocaine and new wave music. Hold On was at number one in the song list. Now we're going to do nostalgia. We also had Vogue by Madonna and Nothing Compares to You, Roxette. We also had Roxette. Yeah, so no internet either. You watched MTV on your satellite dish and you liked it. And on our satellite dish, you could pick up the Yugoslavian evening news if you pointed it right down at the horizon. And you drank Miller Lite out of plastic cups and played Final Fight with tokens. The subway was $1.15 per token, and you could still smoke on the train. Those were the days. Starflight 2 was out, so if you wanted to fight with your hardware for a while, you could try to play that. The 90s, nostalgia. Anywho, there are currently no updates for Office 2016 and Office 2019, but the others have this out-of-band patch. Some of it has server-side patching going on. There are, in this article, there's registry editing instructions if you're feeling lucky and you're still running Office 2016 and 2019. Office 2021 and later were patched server-side. So whatever Office version you use, maybe somebody's still running Office 2.0 or Office on Windows 2.0, but you can patch it because an unauthenticated local attack can exploit the vulnerability in a low complexity effort. And, so it is a problem. I lived across the street from a cemetery in 1990. It was cool. Best neighbors ever. Some of the cemetery visitors were annoying, though. They're like, why are you standing in your yard beside the cemetery? That's rude. I'm like, I don't know. It's my yard. What do you want me to do? Anyway, Telnet. Oh, Telnet, how I hate you. I mean, are you still like using and enabling Telnet demons? Seriously? I had to scream at Cisco for years to get them to finally take out of their training materials recommending installing it on everything. I mean, they just constantly TFTP and Telnet. What a great way to go. I mean, so why is port 23 TCP a bugbear for me? Well, Telnet protocol runs in the clear. That means anybody sniffing it can just write a little dinky Wireshark filter or a regex or whatever you call those in Wireshark. But that looks for username and password in the data stream, and there you have it. You get their username and their password right out of the data stream. Remember Doug Song and DSniff? Yeah, he sold that company for a lot of money to Cisco, incidentally. I remember talking to him about it, and I was like, wow, dude, you could give me some money. But, basically Doug Song automated that Wireshark sniffing attack. I mean, all you had to have was a hub, an old laptop running Linux, and put it up over the ceiling for the weekend, and you owned the whole place. I captured literally almost every password in an entire institution once that way. And they were like, whoa, you must be a genius. I'm like, yeah, that's me, a genius. All right. Look, you should not be using Telnet, okay? And you absolutely shouldn't be using Telnet with open ports on the internet. And no, setting it to port 2323 or 6969 or whatever does not help. Stop kidding yourself. If you just have to run this because you have ancient equipment and, that X-ray machine in the basement, only way you can connect to it is with Telnet, fine, put it in a private VLAN and restrict the hell out of it by IP, if nothing else. Shadow Server was tracking nearly 800,000 IP addresses that had Telnet fingerprints, and they were tracking a critical auth bypass in new iNet utils Telnetd. 800,000, literally. Can you believe that? I mean, there's a proof of concept out for this attack as well. So how old is Telnetd? Well, I think it's even older than this, but RFC 318, RFC 318, that's from like 1972. That's how old the commercial versions of Telnetd are. I mean, obviously it's been updated and so forth, but I mean, that's where it came from. It was actually, I think, from the 60s even. I think there's older RFCs in that from ARPANET or something. What was the biggest hit song in 1972? American Pie came out in 1972. Lean on Me. Ooh, that's a good one. The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. Ooh, a long song title. Wow, 72. Wide Ties, Orange Shirts, PDP 11s, IBM 360s, the good old days. So look, new iNet utils includes FTP, Telnet, RSH, Ping, Traceroute. So all tools that you may need to use for some reason or other, but you cannot expose FTP, Telnet, and RSH. They are incredibly dangerous to expose. I mean, maybe if you have to run FTP, you can run it internally, but why are you not using SSH and SFTP? Come on, even internally. You want some high school kid sniffing your network and grabbing your admin password that because you telnetted to a router? Really? I mean, don't expose it, but particularly don't expose it to the internet. I mean, or I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. 1972 was also the year The Godfather got released. Cabaret. Ooh, Cabaret. Bob Fosse. There you go. Deliverance. Squeal Like a Pig. And What's Up, Doc? All classic movies. It's just like Nostalgia Day or something. I'm going to sit here and start telling you, yeah, I remember back in my day. But Telnet, BBS systems, all lovely. But those 800,000 people exposing their Telnets to everyone to see, you really need to stop that now. Scan your network, see if you have Telnet or FTP running anywhere. Seriously, you need to do that. Layer X found 16 malicious browser extensions that steal ChatGPT session authentication tokens. Now, these extensions were all advertised as ChatGPT mods, and they use a content script which is injected into the main JavaScript world, and then it hooks Windows.fetch out of there, and that lets it eavesdrop on all the outbound requests going to OpenAI. So it's specifically targeting ChatGPT. If it sees an auth header in the clear, it grabs that session token and then sends the session token to the attacker's, I guess, command and control, which basically means the attacker can then use that same token to steal the session and get the user's level of access to ChatGPT, which typically would mean they could see your whole conversation history going back forever, and possibly other apps like Google Drive, Slack, or GitHub if they've been connected to ChatGPT. I just looked at my ChatGPT session log. Bob Fosse dance moves, craziest action park ride, Delphi Oracle setup issues, Frau Bluka, and Fun Islands near Manhattan are all on there from recently. But you may not want that whole session where you decided to get all spicy with ChatGPT or whatever it's capable of to be exposed, or maybe your personal conversations can get a little weird. But you really don't want your Google Drive getting roped into this at the same time. So the mods all came from domains chatgptmods.com and imagent.tech with 16 apps in the Chrome Web Store, and one was even published to Microsoft Edge add-ons marketplace. Layer X said there were about 900 users when they found these things, and one of the apps was called ChatGPT Folder Voice Download Prompt Manager Free Tools -ChatGPT Mods, and it had a featured badge in the Chrome Web Store, and it indicated that it followed all the recommended practices for Chrome extensions. So it wasn't just a little bit of a problem, it was a big problem. All 16 of these were still active, according to this article yesterday. Basically, any extensions you add to your browsers have a lot of potential for risk because your browser has so much stuff in it. But Layer X cautioned in particular about AI interface extensions currently. I think this is going to get worse too. People are embedding everything in their lives into these AIs. They put data in there, they put spreadsheets in there, they dump their personal, histories and everything else into that system, and it's just going to make that target get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, this was primarily a browser problem. So it was not a problem with ChatGPT. It was a problem with the way the browser handled all this and the fact that you installed an extension that allowed the browser to steal the session token. What's in your AI history today? You might want to look. Now, we have been yelling about multi-factor authentication for a long time. I mean, a really long time. But no matter what kind of security you have, if the user opens the door and lets the attacker in, it's problematic. I mean, one time I did a pen test thing, and I literally, got in the building, and, the CEO was asking like, okay, how did you pull this off? I mean, we talking some like Tom Cruise stuff here. How did you get in? The front door's got this crypto lock. It's got cameras, and we didn't see you anywhere. And I was like, oh, I just went around behind the building and walked in through the exit door, which was propped open in the middle of the night because they said it got hot in the server room. I mean, you're done. You can spend $1 billion on security, and if somebody lets the attacker in, it's over. Well, Okta Threat Intelligence detected and dissected multiple, quote, as a service type phishing kits, which were specifically built for voice phishing, or what they call vishing. And vishing kits are being increasingly used to target Google, Microsoft, and Okta, and a lot of crypto providers because they use multi-factor. And if they use multi-factor, having the username and password combos will not help because there's a multi-factor thing going on there. But if you can get the user to give it to you, so basically it's just an AI voice, I guess, or maybe just little old me calls you up and tells you something heinous like a naked man is outside working on your car. Have you checked your Ring cameras? Wait, don't click Ring. We're showing your Ring camera is hacked. No, don't go look. Don't go look out the window. He'll see you, and that could get weird. Let me just walk you through resetting your Ring camera for stealth nudity mode, and it will only take a second. So let's get you logged in. Go ahead and log into your Ring camera, and now you're going to get a text giving you a number, and you need to give me the number, and I'll fix your Ring camera. It's an update. That's Vishing. I mean, literally. I mean, if I can get your Okta login, I can become you, right? Single sign-on, all that. I mean, down at Glorfeld University, the single sign-on is managed by a MFA, but if a faculty member gave up their code, then the attacker would have full-blown access to everything they have access to, including your Glorfeld Bucks balance of $19.31. But hey, you could buy day-old sushi at a discount at the Student Center. I've seen that before. Yeah. If you want to gamble. But look, you probably need to review this kind of stuff with your people. MFA fatigue attacks where they just pop it up, and you just finally start hitting okay to get rid of it, or just using the same very old tactics I was using in 1986 to get people to give me all their creds from the bank. It works. So remind them a lot. And think about where your SSO leads as well. So can a user who signs in get access to literally almost everything in your entire organization, maybe other organizations, literally with that SSO? I mean, it's convenient to use SSO, but man, having just one key for everything in your whole life, and then somebody grabs it off the table while you were leaning over the back of the booth talking to those girls, and they run off with it. Yeah, I mean, my worst key loss ever, I think, was at Breckenridge, the skiing. Yeah, you're not going to get those back until spring. Can you imagine? You're like, oh yeah, I dropped my keys somewhere on these 6 mountains, and there's snow, but did somebody turn them in? But hey, interesting part of that story, somebody did. I don't know where they found them, but they literally turned them into lost and found. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was going to be spring before anybody found those things. Programming stories always get my attention. Weird programming, esoteric programming, even better. The Towers of Hanoi solved with Ook. Hey, that's a cool one. Towers of Hanoi solved with white space. That's interesting. But this new one that this story was about is called Ralph and Cursed. And it was described by the developer as a, quote, bash loop that feeds AI output back into itself until it dreams up the correct answer. So it's like a vomiting recursive with explosive diarrhea code written by Jeff Huntley. So you tell Claude, hey, Claude, the dev wants a menu-driven solution to Towers of Hanoi written in Fortran. Claude vomits forth some code, but maybe the code's not so good, and the devs have to sit down and dissect it. But this guy says, what if you just feed it right back to Claude? Like, just say, you're getting this code right back and being asked to evaluate the code to see if a dev request is satisfied, and then just keep stuffing it back into Claude. So Claude produces a new set of code, and you stuff it back in until Claude is satisfied that it meets the dev requirements. Yeah, it's I was envisioning that scene. I think it's Hellraiser Deader, where there's this guy called a Sin Eater, and he comes in and this one guy types up all this guy with all these like slashes in him, types all this stuff up on an old-fashioned typewriter, and then this Sin Eater comes in and cuts it all to ribbons and then eats it and then pukes it all down a tube, and then yeah. You don't look for that movie. You'll be sorry. It's an interesting movie if you like that kind of thing, but yeah, I would avoid it. Anyway, this is pretty interesting. And Huntley says he's used this tactic to clone commercial products by just actually literally saying, find the code and feeding it back into itself until it eventually reverse engineered an Atlassian product and that he was able to clone. He went on and he said this costs about $10 an hour. And then he created a whole programming language to do it called Cursed. Wow. A new esoteric language. I have not had a chance to actually look at Cursed and code anything with it, but I know I want to. I just didn't have time today. Cursed Huntley says cursed is also concerning because he said it may in turn curse the software industry since $10 an hour is not even minimum wage. So it might have a massive impact on agentic AI coding, replacing human coders. It seems like it could cause a lot of copyright and other de-evolution of open source products as well. It's a very interesting article. And Huntley says, quote, devs should spend more time thinking about writing loops that drive coding assistants to produce better output rather than persisting with code reviews. It's a thought. So at the end of the day, it's just keep recursing Claude until it reaches the end game. Worth a read, in my opinion. PeckBirdy is a Jscript-based command and control framework that's been being used since 2023 by China-aligned attack groups targeting multiple different environments. Now, Jscript, of course, is Microsoft's version of JavaScript. The framework has been used to target Chinese gambling industries, Asian government entities, and other private organizations, according to Trend Micro. Now, the end goal, apparently, of this whole operation is just to get people to download and run fake update files, which infect their machines with malware, which included backdoors and all kinds of stuff. Two groups, Shadow Void 044 and Shadow Earth 045, were two of the Chinese-aligned nation-state groups that may well be using this. I mean, basically, this is a really thorough article about how this all works. But the point is, the humans remain a major weakness in the system and are subsequently targeted and will be targeted more and more. You really are going to have to continue to evolve your training. Maybe ask Claude to do it recursively, to start training people to not do this kind of stuff. Click fixes, vishing, all this stuff is just widespread, and it works. I wonder if I could use cursed Ralph to recurse Claude with something like, Claude, I need you to open the vault. Pipe, didn't open. Try again. Pipe, Claude, I need you to open the vault. You know, the recursive attack of the agentic AI bots are coming, and they're coming for you this summer in a new major motion picture from Doug White called Recursive Agentic AI Bots from Hell. Yeah. Hellraiser 45, recursive agentic AI bots. All right. Now, an artist I know is adamant that no cell phones will be used at their shows. Like, adamant. Like, they get upset. They have security chasing people down. They had cameras even before we saw these little bags, right? And more than one artist is like this. The first time I saw this whole locked up cell phone thing, it wasn't just security coming climbing over the rows to try to get you because you took a picture, but was John Mulaney, who's a comedian. And John doesn't like the idea that people are going to steal his jokes, and he likes to try out new jokes at these shows. And, he said people are recording it, and then they're using it in their own acts and whatever. I mean, I won't say I've never stolen a John Mulaney bit, but comedians are very protective of their material. Sir Paul McCartney did a show and had all the fans put their phones in those dreadful pouches, like Hush pouches, and there's a bunch of brands of them, and then you're stuck carrying this horrible canvas bag around with you all evening. I did see some that had like a neck strap, so you could have this awful thing flapping on you all evening. But, you don't, I mean, at least me, I don't know what time it is. I don't know, what's going on. I get all itchy because I can't, see that. I feel my phone buzzing in this little pouch, but I don't know what's going on, and maybe something bad. Nobody's allowed to post a selfie of the show because I don't know, somebody might not have to pay for grainy, low quality video of you performing on YouTube. McCartney seemed to think it was better if people didn't have a phone. Everybody was focused on the show and, and interacting with each other instead of their phones and texting their friends or what have you. I mean, I don't know. I went to shows when phones didn't exist. Like, first show I went to, Blue Oyster Cult, 1978, with Angel and the Gods opening for them. Yeah, it was a cool show. No phones. I did drink a bunch of slugs of wild turkey from a bottle some guy kept handing me. Yeah. I looked it up. The date was the 4th of April, 1978. It was a Tuesday. I was not allowed to go, but I went anyway. But with no phone, of course, my parents had no idea where I was. I told them I was like helping, to do something somewhere else. I think I told them I was working on a school project, and I was in a van with horses painted on the side. No way, man. But I don't know about this. It's a pain in the ass to bundle up all those phones and then unbundle them all afterwards. It really sucks. I mean, if you haven't been to one of these shows, I really hate it. I don't have my messaging. I don't have my watch. When I can't find my wife or my daughter because they went to the restroom and never came back, and I'm like, I would normally text them and go, "Hey, where are you? The show's starting back." But oh no, we can't do that even. I mean, is it really costing the artist that much? Is it really degrading the concert experience that much? I mean, I remember bootlegs even. You know, there were sometimes you had good ones that recorded off the board by the crew or possibly by a guy named Mark who had a cassette recorder in his trousers and a microphone sticking out of the collar of his shirt. But hey, have you got a copy of The Great White Boss? I mean, did it hurt the sales of Born to Run because The Great White Boss came out? I don't think so. But I guess it's part of the modern age. They want you focused on them and not your phone. They want you to interact. I'm not interacting with anybody except maybe the guy that kept handing me the bottle of wild turkey. And I wasn't interacting with him either. He looked pretty sketchy, but hey, free wild turkey. Seems foolish. I mean, I don't know. It just seems foolish. Like free advertising for your show. You know, like, look how much fun I'm having. You should go too. But, you know, I don't know. Of course, there's the whole some guy posting a video of a kid vomiting wild turkey at a concert and then their parents see it and all that. You know, I don't, what do I know? My tours never made any money anyway after we paid the bar bill. Speaking of bar bills, debauchery, rock shows, and waking up in the public bog, it's Aaran Leyland. Hi, Aaron.
Hey, how's it going? I have a Roxette story. So, like about over 20 years ago, in a bar at work that we used to drink in, we used to always bang out the Roxette classics, and we were going to go and see Roxette, and then she got ill, so we never went. And then very recently, within the last few months-ish, I went and seen Roxette, but I bought the tickets like 6 months before, and I mustn't have been thinking straight because I forgot that Marie Friedrichsen was dead. And then I bought the tickets, and then I was like, I'm going to see Roxette, like, I guess when it's a duo and they kind of have a front person that bashes out the songs and the only one you really care about, and I don't even know his name. I kind of felt like I was at a tribute show for like $100. But to be fair, if anybody cares, they were really good. And whoever the woman was that was with the man, she had a set of lungs on her and some other things.
But yeah, I heard Rush's new replacement drummer for Neil Peart was very, very good as well, but it's just not the same. I don't know.
See, with drummers, guitarists, people that don't sing, I don't have an ear to even notice that they're not there, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I saw Miley Cyrus doing a cover of Zombie, and I was like, okay, she can sing, but she's no Dolores Reardon for sure.
For everybody that's watching and listening, Tyson just, the producer, just popped up and did sort of this kind of thing. I don't think he's very happy with me. He is a musician, but yeah, I'm going to get cut out of this show. There's going to be like some weird sort of icons. Yeah, he's back
Aaron
again.
is edited out.
Yeah, that'd be better than having me upside down with like an orange in my mouth. But hey ho, whatever you want, Tyson. I give you full artistic license. Okay, anyway, Sandworm, Poland, Field, last December. Like, they got far-ish, but they tried to drop a wiper into the environment, and ESET's calling it Dino Wiper. So, Polish officials said it hit 2 combined heat and power. I have to say power and not power with my Northern Irish accent, to power plants, plus a management system used to control generation from renewables like wind and solar. Solar, not solder or solder, as you say. It's just so complicated today. And I wrote this. But, okay, it was simple. They got in, they staged a destructive action, they pushed the button. So, they're in, they're probing, they're there, but they're not quite there. They got pretty far, to be honest. Just a little bit on Sandworm, and I'm like, who doesn't know Sandworm? If you don't know Sandworm, do you even cyber, bro? But anyway, Sandworm for the new people. being kind. It's one of GRU's main sabotage units. You'll see them labeled as APT-44 UAC 0113, Seashell Blizzard, which I'll come on to later. An even better name, Voodoo Bear, because they're all bears over there in Russia. Yeah, they thought they were bears. Anyway, same family. So they've been active for years, and it's normally all about disruption. Well, a big bit of disruption and some spying. Notable for Ukraine in 2015, 2016, power grid incidents. Obviously not Petya, because everybody thought that was ransomware, and then it wasn't, because it wasn't Petya, was it? And that was back in 2017. Olympic Destroyer. So wipers, fake ransomware, messy influence ops when it suits them. Look, it's when Russia wants to take the lights out and look at your critical national infrastructure, or whatever you call it over there, I can't remember. These are who they go to. These are one of the top ones for just destroying stuff. This wasn't a masterpiece. It wasn't some cool bit of like disrupt ICS, and that's the point. And I think I spoke about it a load of weeks ago. It's not about the big 0 days and stuff. Wipers are cheap, normally reliable, and they turn recovery into an absolute operational nightmare. In OT, you don't need to hack the PLC to cause chaos. If you wipe the Windows boxes that engineers use to see and control the process, HMIs, historians, jump hosts, the stuff that sits between the people, us, and the plant. Well, just look at Natanz, right? That was a pretty cool hack, wasn't it? So you create loss of view, loss of control, safety trips, and what could be a massively long, painful but rebuild. Just ask the Iranians. Even if the processes keep running, your ability to run it safely really degrades. Sandworm doesn't operate in a neat lane. They're not just one thing. They're totally all cutouts, fronts, hacktivism. And you see them popping up on Telegram with personas that claim breaches and post screenshots and videos. Sometimes inflate it, but not always. But it's just all part of the fun and the noise, and turn our heads and use our analyst hours, isn't it? Look, as I say, Burns Defender time, and these, look, they are the Russian government, they are, but this is them going for deniability. Anybody remember Chemical Ali in Iraq? No, we don't do anything bad. But I'm not going into that one. DM me about that. I have thoughts. Okay, they're showing that they can do this, and in the US over there at you, and in the UK, it's like it's kind of the front line. Obviously, Poland, when you look at everything beside Russia, all the former Soviet countries and that, rebuilding and helping Ukraine and stuff like that, they're getting hit. But I felt a real uptick in sort of incidents recently, and I think that's maybe because certain APTs are just farming it out to civilians and personnel and just going, hey, here you go. There's some quids. There's a bit of crypto. Just go whack the West and go all over the place. There is a joint advisory spelling that out, and that goes on about pro-Russian groups, opportunistically targeting VNC-connected HMI devices. That's the human machine interface, the point between us and the bit that does stuff. It's like this, like they just scan, find and expose VNC service, brute force or guess a weak password, get into the HMI, change set points, disable alarms, force a loss of view, reboot devices, and then obviously grab a screen recording for Telegram. Not elegant, not advanced. And look, that's what it's all about. It's not about burning 0 days and losing equity, is it? Because, well, they don't need it, do they? And they're saving all that for the big war. Okay, it's not just about noisy hacktivism. Microsoft wrote about Seashell Blizzard, and that was a long-running access campaign and expanding targets into the United States and the United Kingdom. And that was like Screen Connect and Fortinet EMS. Like, we don't hear enough about Fortinet recently. But I talked about this a load of weeks ago. Amazon also described GRU-linked activity shifting away from the heavy exploit development and leaning on misconfigured edge devices. Do you know all your edge devices? Because when I used to do DFIR, it's like, oh, it was someone just forgot to put the patches on the edge device, and next thing, some crypto miners were on there. There is exposed management interfaces, and it's not that hard then to get persistent access, and especially around Western critical infrastructure and energy. It's consistent pre-positioning and persistence. It's like why bother with ransomware? You're not going to send them some cash, are you? It's just about destroying wipers, influence, noise, and OT's the wild, wild west. And we just make it too easy by connecting systems that were never designed to be on the internet and then acting surprised when someone finds them and then just smashes them, right? Look, if you're an OT, you need to know which of your control adjacent systems are reachable from the outside world directly, or of course, via vendor tooling. Poland is not the only front line on this. This time, no disruption occurred. This time, the bigger issue is that access exists, the intent exists. They are after us. They really are. They're not happy. And the tradecraft is getting more scalable, not more sophisticated. Look, when Russia decides it wants a coordinated cross-border disruption outside Ukraine, it appears the foundations are already ready, and this is without using the 0-day equity. It will probably happen on a Friday at 6 p.m. and no one wants to start the weekend rebuilding HMIs from bare metal. Peace out, party people.
Thank you, Aaron. Nobody wants to see that at 6 p.m. on a Friday. Yes, we've all been there. Well, here's a new one for you. People have tried to run the video game Doom on just about everything from refrigerators to scoreboards. And the whole question of, but can it run on Doom or can it run Doom movement is quite interesting to me. It's literally like a coding problem of adapting code to the most extreme circumstances, whether it's limited memory, limited pixels, or, and who knows what that Japanese toilet's memory capacity is, but can it run Doom? But can these eyeglasses project Doom directly onto my optic nerves? Well, Aaron Sarkison decided to try it in the ultimate constraint. Could you run it on a device that doesn't even have video? And which was kind of a misnomer. But the project is called Doombuds, and it's designed to run on Pine Buds Pro, which are earbuds, which have open source firmware and a full, project development environment. So there is video. It's just not on the earbuds. So the code is it uses the JavaScript interfaces with UART contact pads in the earbuds to send a compressed MJPEG stream to a web server via a serial server at about 2.4 megabytes per second. And it can actually run at 22 to 27 frames per second. And since Doom can only generate 18 frames per second, it should work. Now, there was a whole problem in that the game was 4.2 megabytes, and they had to squeeze that onto the Pine Buds, which only had 4 megabytes of flash. So they used a 1.7 megabyte squashware build of Doom. And so, yeah, a $70 pair of earbuds can run Doom. It might need a little monitor, but I'm going to challenge you. Can you run it on a potato clock? Come on. I mean, let's see those. Anyway, that is the news. Thanks to all of you. Thank you, Aaron. And we will see you next time on the Security Weekly News.